Today, our Capstone project is all about the Moore Circle Calculator, a C programming project by Cedie Jaraula and Jose Taculayan.
So for the introduction of this capstone project, we have the Moore circle is a way of visualizing the state of stress at a point on a loaded material. It gives an intuitive feel to the stress transformation equations, and it shows how the stresses on an element change as a function of the rotation angle. It also shows principal stresses, which is the along x and the along y principal stresses, extreme shear stresses, and all the angles. So basically, this figure shown is an actual presentation of a Moore circle, which is very useful for engineering projects. So in this program, it will solve all the values needed to plot this kind of circle. Next.
So, the statement of the problem is that the programmers are meant to solve these problem statements. A fast solver calculator for the values of the Moore circle, easy showing of values that it can be easily plotted and recorded, a user-friendly interface, and also the program is a time saver program.
So for the objectives, this program aims to compute the points in the diagram, principal stresses, maximum the minimum shear stresses, and the principal points.
So also, the program will ask the value for x and y normal stresses and the shear stress on y face to calculate the said parameters. It enables you to visualize the relationships between the normal and shear stresses acting on various inclined planes at a point in a stress body, stresses, maximum shear stresses, and stresses on inclined planes.
So for the system flow of Moore circle calculator program, so first program rule starts, then the Moore circle asks for the three values, which are the normal stresses along x and along y, and the shear stresses. The program solves the every values. So the three values will be solved and will give an output to plot a Moore circle. Then the program display every value needed and the program will terminate.
So, we will now proceed to demo the program using these examples and we will compare them to our written solution. So, we will now run our program which is this. So, this is a whole program of our Moore circle calculator. So, we press F11. Oh no, wait. So, we press F11. It will now compile and show us the program. So, inputting the values of so inputting the values, which is negative 840, negative 335, and negative 120, it will then show the points on the circle, the stress average, the length A, the length B, the hypotenuse, the principal stresses, and the principal angle.
So these all are the values needed to plot a Moore circle. So to prove things up, so we solve the same problem manually. As you can see, we have a written solution on displayed in the screen, and as you can observe, we obtained almost the same answer. So we solved the percent error for every values obtained, and we got a percent error of almost 2% and below. With that, we can say that this Moore circle calculator is very accurate and is very useful for solving engineering problems and can save time, because if we solve this kind of problem, it takes around 15 minutes to get it all to get all these values. But with this Moore circle calculator, it can make things easier, as it took just around 3 seconds to obtain all those values needed. So without further ado, let's proceed to the program for the explanation of the program.
So next, Cedie.
So let's start with the line 10. The includes studio.h. So the studio this line is known to contain the input or the output operation like printf or scanf or etc. And the h extension means the header file. So in the line 11, are a lot of math functions needed for this program. For example, to find the square root, function to truncate the decimals, and many more. And to make things easier, this line 10 and 11 opens up the standard and math library. And for the line 13 to 17, we have the float more function, float norm AV function, float length A function, float length B function, double degrees function. This all decrease all the functions prototype, and all prototype are named after each operation of the Moore circle. And for the line 20 to 27, we have we have the main function. So the functions need to return some integers at the end of the execution, and we do so by returning 0 at the end of the program. So we have the int main function, and at stated there that printf more circle calculator, and line 23 printf /n/n. These programs will calculate the required data for more circle. So it serves as the headings for our program. So next.
So to this part, we will explain the float more function, which is mostly the main calculative function of our program. So from the first part, we declare the variables of n stress x, n stress y, shear, and so on, which is really the variables for getting the values in a Moore circle in a theoretical way. So we use the double R. We use double because it is a mathematical function that needs to be in radians form, and also we use constant pi, so the value cannot be changed, and we use the decimal place of pi is up to 1,000 places, so it can reduce the error functions. So on all the printed display are all just the program asking for the data, asking for three inputs, which is the normal stress at x, the normal stress at y, and the shear stress. Those are the three important components of the Moore circle, and these three will then be calculated and be solved by the program by around 2 seconds, and it's all done. It's a time saver program yun siya. And lastly, on the second picture, all the values will be printed in such manner that it is very easy for the user to see everything, and it can be easily recorded or copied by any assignments.
So next, the norm AV function, which solves the normal average stress. So it uses float, which is a short term for floating point. It is a fundamental data type built into the compiler that defined numeric values with floating decimal point. So stated there for the stress average, the equals stress AV is equals to n stress along x, or the normal stress along x, plus n stress along y over 2. And next is the length A function. So we have A is equals to normal stress along x minus normal stress along y over 2. So the length A is like the height of a 90 degrees triangle. It is the 90 degrees triangle is can be drawn below or above the terminal axis or the x-axis.
So next we will explain about the float length b function and the degrees function. So the length b function is just the same the length a function, which is a triangle, but the process is that the variable b is just equal to the shear inputted. And lastly, the degree function, which uses double, since we use a trigonometric function that comes from a math header file, which requires a double storage value. So when you solve this, the O variable will store the values in a double storage form, but the answer will be in radians, which will then calculate it in the more function, which is our main calculator siya.
So to conclude everything, the more program calculator that was written in the C language is a fast solver and time saver program for anyone who uses it. The limitation for the program is that it does not show the drawing of the Moore circle, so it is purely all the values needed to plot the Moore circle. So next, the program can be used on any machine design project.